Hi, everyone. My name is Jacob Cohen. I'm a certified public accountant, and I'm here with JFCS today to lead this finance panel that hopefully everyone will find very helpful. Um, just a quick couple words on myself. I grew up in the Philly area. I'm actually on the audit committee of JFCS Philadelphia, in the Philadelphia area. My wife, Sarah Waxman, works for JFCS, and what I do is I operate a certified public accounting firm in Philadelphia. We have about 9 or 10 full-time staff, do a lot of tax work, personal, just general financial planning, bookkeeping, consulting, etc. From JFCS, I want to introduce Deborah Bornstein, who's the director of donor and event operations, as well as Laura Flowers, who's the financial empowerment program coordinator. Deborah and Laura, I'll let you say a few words.
No, I'm just excited to be part of this Facebook Live. I think this is a very important topic, and I'm looking forward to our discussion.
Yeah, same with me. Like Jake, I grew up in the Philly area. I've worked with JFCS for about 5 years, almost 5 years now. So I'm excited to present a little information to everyone who's listening.
Great. So we have some questions. I'm just gonna, sort of get started, and we'll start from there. And the questions are going to be ported mostly at Laura. So Laura, tell me about the financial empowerment program at JFCS.
Sure. So the Financial Empowerment Program is designed for individuals who are interested in making a positive change in their finances. So maybe they have some goals that they want to work on and just want to figure out a plan to get started moving towards accomplishing those goals. And we really like to focus on the emotional side of finances. There can be a lot of stress and anxiety involved in financial decision making. So our goal is really to increase people's confidence in how they're feeling about their financial well-being, and also decrease stress as much as possible. So I work with individuals doing financial coaching sessions.
It's great. To get started about COVID-19, I guess what are some steps, Laura, from your perspective that, individuals should be taking if your income has been affected by COVID-19, whether, your hours were reduced, you lost your position, if you're a business owner and you can't work right now, what are some general steps, from your perspective that you should be taking?
Yeah, so that's definitely been a focus of our agency right now, that a lot of people are coming in with these issues that they've been laid off. So my first piece of advice to someone in this situation would be make sure you're looking into filing for unemployment. I would say go and try to do it on the website because it's going to be difficult to call in through the phone. And even people that don't traditionally qualify for unemployment assistance, there is help available for you. If you're a contract worker, a 1099 employee, even if your hours have just been reduced, you might be able to receive some partial assistance. So check that out on the pa.gov website, because you want to make sure you can get as much income coming in as possible. The next piece would be definitely looking at your expenses. So get a snapshot of your monthly expenses, all the bills that you have to pay right now, those fixed bills that you pay every month. Also, those variable expenses are going to be important to know how much you're spending on food, entertainment, clothing, things like that. And what you're going to want to do is really try to reduce your spending as much as possible to bring it down below to the amount of monthly income that you have coming in, so that you can maintain yourself as much as possible. So you'll want to really weigh your wants and your needs and think about what's necessary to be paying right now, what can be cut out. And even with the bills that are necessary to be paid right now, I would say try to get creative and cutting back where you can. So for example, if you've got a cable package, maybe that's something you can cut back on right now. There's no live sports happening. Maybe that's a big component of why you had that bill. Also a cell phone bill, I've noticed we're only using Wi-Fi at the moment on our cell phones. So having a large data package right now might be something you could get rid of to help cut back anywhere you can.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, I have a lot of clients at my firm that lost their jobs, unfortunately, or just are self-employed and can't work. And the surprising thing about the pandemic unemployment assistance, program, the new, the new unemployment benefits, are that you can qualify if you're self-employed and you just, lost a lot of your clients, or the revenue just sort of dried up all of a sudden. So, and if you're not sure if you apply, like I would just go, go fill out the application, fill out the questions honestly, and see what happens, because you may actually qualify for a lot of benefits, and the benefits.
Yeah, it's absolutely worth checking to see what you might be able to get. You might be surprised at what you qualify for. That's great advice.
Yeah. And just to confirm, if you're a Pennsylvania resident, you work in PA, you should apply for unemployment with the state of PA, even for the pandemic unemployment assistance program, which is really coming from the federal government. You still apply with the state. But if you, let's say, if you work in another state, you actually apply, in the state where you, have historically worked. In terms of, I think we hit this a little bit, but if you can't pay your bills, or suddenly, right, you have to sort of make some decisions, like what should I pay, what shouldn't I pay? Laura, what do you think about that?
Yeah, so there are people who are going to be in a situation where even after they've gone through their whole budget, they've cut out absolutely everything, every unnecessary expense that they can, they're still going to be faced with a difficult situation where they can't even make ends meet to pay those basic expenses. So here, it's really going to be important to prioritize and pay what's absolutely necessary first. So the way I would go about this is think about your basic needs and covering those first. So that would be things like paying your shelter, paying for food, and paying for medicine to really protect yourself and your family. Then a next tier would be thinking about the bills that you need to pay in order to protect what income you do have coming in. Also, if you're searching for jobs, paying whatever bills that need to be paid in order to keep that job search going. So if that includes transportation, you want to make sure you're keeping up with a car payment or car insurance, you have money for gas for your car, or, if you're working from home or doing a job search from home, you need to make sure that the internet bill is being paid. So after you run through those priorities, there still might be some bills that you're going to have to skip. So really just weigh the pros and cons of which bills make more sense to skip over at this point. Definitely contact the bill collectors of the bills where you think you're going to have to be skipping a few months, and inquire about any hardship programs that might be out there. I know there's definitely mortgage assistance right now, student loans. If you have federal student loans, there's programs available to help you. And you're going to want to make sure that you reach out for that kind of assistance. It's not automatic. So you need to let those lenders know that you're struggling and see what you can qualify for. But again, really weigh the pros and cons of what you're going to skip, because skipping a bill payment right now doesn't mean that payment's forgiven. You'll still owe that money in the future. So you want to make sure you're weighing the decisions that you make that impact you in the short term, but also still trying to keep the long-term future in mind, and not setting yourself up to be even in worse shape down the line, where you've got a lot of back payments that are going to be coming due.
Agreed. Yeah, very well said. I have a lot of clients that work in real estate and are landlords, and I think most of them are pretty understanding to, if they have tenants that just aren't earning money now or lost their jobs. Yeah, so I asked them, like, what if a tenant reached out and said, what, I lost my job, I'm trying to find another one, but I need 2 or 3 month break, but then I'll make it up over the next 6 months. I'll pay it extra increments. And they said, yeah, most of them will understand. So I think it really doesn't hurt to just ask nicely and see what people are willing to do. I have other clients that just even though they didn't really necessarily 100% need it, in anticipation of having some business difficulties, they just asked if they can sort of make half payments on rent or their mortgages. And most people said yes, or came up with some sort of compromise. So it doesn't hurt to ask. Don't be embarrassed to ask. This is really a once in a lifetime difficult situation that we're going through, and you might find that people are more understanding than you expect.
Definitely. Yeah, that's great advice. It's really important to be upfront and honest with people, like you were saying, that we're all struggling right now. This pandemic came out of nowhere. No one was prepared for it. A lot of people were struggling financially before this even started. So you can't change the past. We are where we are now. All you can do is Try to make the best decisions you can in the moment, and reach out to people for help. Don't hide by yourself in denial and hope that things are just going to go away, because you really need to take a proactive stance and to protect your financial well-being.
Agreed. One thing I did want to mention is, the IRS, as part of the CARES Act, there's a lot of changes to IRS rules regarding retirement plan distributions and loans that were, really surprisingly friendly. The first is, for anyone who's, retirement age, they got rid of any required minimum distribution requirements for the 2020 year. So if you
Right.
usually have to take money out of your retirement plan, if you don't want to, for whatever reason, you don't have to. Additionally, usually you could take out loans of up to $50,000, and they increase that to 100,000. And
Mhm.
either you can pay that back over 3 years without any issues, or if you don't want to pay the money back because you need it for whatever reason, you have to pick it up in income, as long as you can say that you've been hurt negatively by COVID, one way or the other. But you pick it up in income over 3 years, and not just all at once. And there's no IRS penalty like there usually is for early distribution. So not that I usually would advise clients of my firm to take out money from their retirement plans. Like, it's really not ideal at all, but it is an option out there that, if you need to, I would look into it and consider it to see if it makes sense.
Yes, I think that's going to be really comforting for people who are considering turning to their retirement savings as an extra source of cash to tap into. If they are in a place where, they're not going to be able to pay their mortgage next month. So it's really great that those rules have been relaxed and some of those penalties are removed. I would just stress to people, like Jake, you're saying, to really consider that as a last resort option. Look to other savings accounts first. Work on your budget, cut back the expenses where you can before you're tapping into that retirement savings, because it can really be difficult to build that back up the way you're going to want it to be when you are at that retirement age. You're really going to want to have that money there. So, like we've been saying, weigh the pros and cons of making certain decisions and make informed decisions as much as possible.
Gotcha. Laura, what would you say to, individuals who actually, their finances haven't been negatively impacted by COVID, or at least not yet? What would you advise them?
Yeah, so there might be some folks listening out there tonight or watching the recording later who maybe their income hasn't dropped as a result of the pandemic. There are some fortunate people out there who are still working from home, collecting their paycheck, and financially they're doing okay. So that actually, it doesn't mean that you don't have to make any changes to your finances right now. I think this is actually a great opportunity, a great time to take to do sort of a checkup on your finances. Maybe you can call it a spring cleaning. We've all got extra time on our hands right now. Places are closed. We're sitting at home. A lot of people's spending has gone down because restaurants are closed, bars are closed. There's no shopping in stores. So you can go through your budget too. Take the time to look over what your spending habits have been, and how they've changed since the pandemic has started. And when things start to open back up, what expenses are going to be important to you to put back into your life? So, for example, if you're a person that likes to buy your coffee every morning, well, now you've been making it from home. Maybe you're okay with leaving that expense out in the future. What I would advise to people is take a minute to think about what your long-term financial goals are and whether your current spending that you're doing day to day now is in line with meeting those financial goals. And if it's not, what tweaks can you make to either build up that emergency savings account so you've got a nice cushion going? Could you be saving more for retirement? Maybe there's a vacation you've been wanting to go on that you haven't been able to because the money just never seems to be there. Now is the time to really look at your spending habits and see if you can be more in line with meeting those goals.
Agreed. Yeah, I think a lot of clients in my firm that are sort of tightening it up a little bit. If they were, spending money on really nice Sixers seats, or going out to eat 3 nights a week, and spending a lot of, I think, a lot of people are sort of second guessing that and realizing it's good to have more cash reserves, save up more, the more months of, just money set aside, the more comforting it is.
Yeah, this has been a wake-up call, even for people not affected. They think, could this happen to me next time around? Is my job really as secure as I thought it was? And I think it's always great to be prepared for a worst case scenario. So it's recommended to have between 3 and 6 months of savings built up in a savings account. So if you're not there yet, I would say that would be a great goal to work on now, to get yourself a nice cushion just in case something else happens in the future. You'll be that much more prepared.
Yep. Unfortunately, as is really not surprising, but there's a lot of coronavirus scams out there and fraud, and as something that I sort of expected, just given how quickly these changes came, and the stimulus checks, and how little time there was between when they came out with the idea and they started sending money out. So Laura, I guess have you seen scams? Like what are your thoughts there on helping?
Yeah, so
avoiding it.
yeah. Unfortunately, this is the time that scammers seem to ramp up their activity. They're trying to catch people who are off guard, isolated, not focusing well. They're not really at the top of their game. So you might have suspicious phone calls coming in, trying to trick you when you're not paying attention. So one of the big ones is there's an IRS scam going on right now where someone is calling you, maybe emailing or texting, claiming to be from the IRS, saying they need personal information from you, like a bank account number or other information, in order to send you your stimulus payment. This is absolutely a scam. So my general advice for something like that is don't act in the moment. You can always ask the person for a callback number. Let me hang up, do my research, and give you a call back. So that IRS one is a big one. Also, Social Security scam has been going on right now where people are being told their benefits are being frozen because of the pandemic. This is not happening. Benefits are continuing from Social Security. Also, unfortunately, this is the time when we get those charity scams going on where fake charities are popping up saying, oh, we're collecting donations to help coronavirus victims. Can you donate to us? And I think it's wonderful to donate to charity. That would absolutely be a nice thing to do. However, I would stress to do your research first. If it's a charity you've never heard of, get their phone number, hang up, do some research, investigate the charity, see if it seems legitimate. And if it does, they would be happy to get a call back from you and collect a donation at a later time.
Agreed. Yeah, the IRS did come out with a website where if you want to get direct deposit of your stimulus check, you're supposed to be able to enter your information. Unfortunately, the website hasn't been working for most people, so hopefully they fix it up sometimes pretty soon. But I had clients that emailed me before that website was available saying, I just got a link to the website to put in my direct deposit information. I'm like, it's not available yet. Like whatever you got is not real. And if it doesn't have irs.gov on it, make sure to stay away. There's going to be a lot of scams out there, right? A lot of, certainly, fake charities. If you're not sure about a charity, go to guidestar.org. You can look at the tax returns. You can see if it even exists. And unfortunately, this is what people do, unfortunately, in situations like this. They'll just create a entity that, they'll say it's a nonprofit. They'll hire people to do, phone calls, say it's a charity, collect money, get deposits, and just, pay it to themselves as a profit and make a nominal donation maybe to a charitable cause, and that's it. So just be really careful out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Additionally, if someone, let's say, comes and says, I've never been in a situation, where I can't pay my bills. What do I tell my family? What if I can't pay my employees? What do I tell my employees? What would you say?
Yeah, so I know this is a really stressful time for a lot of people. This is a traumatic event. This came out of nowhere. It came on so suddenly. No one was prepared for it. My advice to someone in that situation is don't struggle with this alone. There are a lot of people who are going through hardships right now, and this is a great time for us all to band together as a community and help each other. If you're normally the person in your household who handles the financial matters, reach out to your partner if you have one or your spouse, and get their advice. Talk through the decisions together. Don't bear the burden on your shoulders alone. And certainly reach out to an agency such as JFCS. We've been working really hard to get the resources in place, get the information out there. We've got a page on our website with coronavirus specific resources that we're offering. We have support groups. We have a benefits drop-in group. I'm running a financial support group for people who, just need someone to talk to if they're struggling right now. But yeah, like I would say, communicate as much as you can. Really just don't feel ashamed to reach out for help. None of us were prepared for this. Take away the blame from yourself for what's happening right now, because it's not going to change the situation. So what you can do is really try to think positively about the decisions you're making right now, that they're informed, that you're reaching out for help as much as possible, and you're working towards a better future. There will be some point in time when this pandemic is over, and we really should plan to work to get the best outcome possible.
Agreed. Deborah, do we have some questions?
We actually have gotten quite a few questions tonight. This sort of just ties into what you were saying, in that, how do I get on the same page as my partner in terms of where we are with finances, in terms of if there's decisions to be made for which bills you pay, or if we can in the position to start saving?
Yeah, so I know that is an issue with a lot of couples that I work with, that there's a disconnect between what decisions should be made around the finances. And it's the number one cause of stress in a lot of relationships. So what I would tell people is to take it back to the core values that are most important to you. So think about, what is most important for me to have in my life? Do I value my family? Do I value my health? Do I value traveling? Each of you make up a list and compare that list together and see where you match up, and really try to focus your financial decisions based around those values, and also whatever long-term goals you're working on that you agree on. So it's going to take some time weighing pros and cons of, if we decide to do this, what is going to be the impact? Or if we decide to do that, what is going to be the impact? But that's really where you got to take it, is back to those core values.
That's a great answer.
Yeah.
Another question I have is, how can JFCS help me understand public entitlements?
So that would be the work of our benefits enrollment coordinator. She's got a drop-in group that she's running weekly. That would be a great place to start. Also, really, if you call our care navigation line, which I think Deborah is going to flash across the screen to make sure everyone's got that phone number.
Yeah, I'm going to do that right now while you're talking.
Okay, great. So if you're not sure, if you've got any sort of issue going on, just give our care navigation line a call. We have phone calls that are being answered live Monday through Friday. There's the number now, and there's our website too. So go ahead and give a call, explain your situation. They're very understanding. They'll talk to you in the moment and provide any sort of resources that we have to get you some help that you need.
Awesome. Another question we have is, let's see here. Someone had commented they're looking for affordable internet to be able to stay connected. They don't have cable, and they're wondering if there's services available for internet that you're aware of.
So the big one I know of is that Comcast runs Internet Essentials. There are certain requirements to be able to apply for that, but I would suggest looking into that one first and see if they qualify. I know they have low cost internet for, I think it's like $10 a month. So that's the one I go to first. That's where my mind jumps to. I mean, the big companies are all going to have their various like intro rates, and then they kind of go up from there. So you may just have to call around and see who's got the best quote right now and make some comparisons.
Another question we got is, how can you file your taxes online so that you can get the stimulus checks?
Sure, yeah, I guess I'll take that one. Right, so generally you would have had to file a 2018 or 2019 personal tax return to get the stimulus. If you didn't file 2018 or 2019, you can basically do like a very basic tax return at the IRS website, which is www.irs.gov. I actually did that for my brother who happens to be in Israel. Lives in Israel. He's a doctor and he didn't have to file back in 2018 or 2019, but he's a US resident with a social security number, so he can get the stimulus. So I went to the IRS website. I entered a couple pieces of information on him and entered his bank account information, and it was accepted. So either, if you really didn't have to file a tax return, you can just go to the irs.gov website and do it there. If you did have a tax return, like you did have income, but you just didn't file a return, you should file a return for 2018 or 2019. One thing about the stimulus, though, that most people don't realize, it's actually a 2020 year tax credit. So it's going to get trued up when if you file your 2020 tax return. So if you didn't qualify necessarily based on your income in 2018 or 2019, but you would qualify in 2020 because it's a down year, you might still get it in 2020. So if you didn't get it for 2018, 2019, you keep that in mind for 2020 when you file your taxes next year.
I actually have two more questions. The next one is, if you defer a payment, will the back pay be added to the monthly bill moving forward, or will the lender expect you to pay the whole back pay at once?
That's a great question, probably for the lender. But that's a good point to be made, that if you're considering any of these forbearance programs or hardship programs where you're able to skip a few months of payments, I would definitely ask that and check out the fine print of how the program's going to work, because you don't want to be caught off guard with, after you've skipped 3 months of payments, all of a sudden you've got a huge bill coming due. I would hope that they would be tacked on to the end of the loan, but I realize that may not always be the case depending on the lender. So you should reach out to them and ask that question.
Yeah, you're going to get a different answer from a different lender for a different loan on that one. Mm-hmm.
The last question I have is, one of our viewers put money away in a dependent care account for camp. And if camp doesn't happen, what will happen with the funds in that, in the HSA?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And I don't know that it's been contemplated yet by the government, but what I expect that they'll make some additional tax changes, and they'll probably let you use that money in 2021, keep it in the account, use it in 2021 without losing the tax deduction for when you put money in. But that's a good point. I would just keep that in the back of your mind and, see what comes out, see what, I suspect that you'll be able to use that in 2021, and still keep the tax deduction for when you put the money in this year. But as of now, it's a good question. I don't have the perfect answer right now.
That's all the questions that we've received. So if there's anything else that you feel like we didn't cover.
The only other thing I want to say is, if you're a business owner, there are a lot of loans and grant opportunities out there. The biggest one is the PPP, the Payroll Protection Program, Payroll Protection Loan. They just came out with some more funding for it. There's a ton of applications already in. If you haven't applied, I would do it really immediately, assuming that you can say that your business has been hurt by COVID-19. But even if you're self-employed, let's say it's just you earn some consulting fees, but you lost a client or two, you can still apply for the PPP now. Even if you don't get funded in this round, it's possible there could be a third round. So I wouldn't just say, oh, I expect the money to disappear like it did last time. If you have a chance to apply, I would apply now. Otherwise, there's a couple other loans. There's one you can apply with directly through this SBA online, the EIDL. That's not the same as the PPP. It's not as impactful, but you should look into that. And then the state of Pennsylvania, I know, has some programs as well. So just there is help out there. Whether sometimes it's grants, sometimes it's very low interest loans with really unusually good repayment terms. So just don't be shy. Take a look and apply for these if you haven't yet.
I actually have more questions that are coming in, which is great. This is amazing. So one of our viewers said that her son has disabilities, gets Social Security, and works part-time. He makes about $8,000 a year. Can I do that myself online without an accountant and file taxes? He filed in 2018. So can I do it myself for him as well? I guess she's talking about filing.
If right, as long as basically you have like financial power of attorney and you're authorized to, and you take care of this individual. Yeah, I would file a return. If you don't do it at the IRS website through their system, even if it's like TurboTax, right? You shouldn't have to pay tax if the Social Security and the wages are under a certain level. But yeah, I would go ahead and try to file it, get it in so you can get the payment. Yeah, I would. Yeah, that's what I would do.
Is it easy to file? That's the other question.
Yeah, it is. It shouldn't be that complicated. You'll need to know, the individual Social Security number. You'll need any tax forms. It shouldn't, and you'll need their bank account information.
Great.
I would say too that I know a lot of people use the VITA, the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program, to help file their taxes if you're low income. And they are closed right now. However, I know that the Campaign for Working Families is a big organization in our area, and they're helping people over the phone file simple tax returns. So you don't even have to have a computer. You can call them, send your documents to them, and they'll be able to help you out. So if you're really, unsure of, a lot of people get scared about filing taxes. They don't want to make a mistake, but there are organizations out there helping people file tax returns remotely right now.
Nice.
Let's see here. And then one more. If a parent owes back child support, will the stimulus money be held and sent to the child? Is this true? And how does the child get the funds?
Yeah, so I know that is the one exception to the stimulus checks being garnished. There's no other way to take the money except if there's back child support owed. I don't know exactly how it gets sent to the child. I think the money will just get put into the whatever account has been, the child support's been paid into before that.
I agree. I think it's supposed to. I haven't heard of it happening yet. All this is still so new. But yeah, hopefully it does end up getting, sent over to that child's account.
Mm-hmm.
What if, I'm sorry, I have one more. This is great. No, this is so interactive. I love it. What if a family member is struggling, but they won't call for help? What advice do you have?
This happens a lot. And this is what we've been saying, that there's people right now who are struggling who have never imagined being in this situation before in their lives. It's not something you plan for. It's always that happens to someone else. This doesn't happen to me. I'm responsible. I have, a steady job, and all of that, like the rug was pulled out from under, right from under people. So yeah. It's going to really be up to that individual to make the decision themselves, kind of when they hit their breaking point and they're going to need to reach out for help. I would say people don't like a nag, so don't keep pestering them saying you need to call JFCS or you need to do this or you need to take money or whatever. That might just make them more isolated. So I would say really just try to be a listening ear and be compassionate and ask the person what's going on, try to ask open-ended questions and let them do the talking and let them come to the decision themselves that reaching out for help is going to be better than trying to face all of this alone, because it's too much of a burden to bear right now. This is a huge economic disaster that's happening right now. We really don't know when this is going to end and how long this is going to impact people. So it's better to get as much support as possible, whether it's through an agency, whether it's through family members, wherever you can get the support, you're going to be better off in the long run for that.
Yeah, I 100% agreed. I mean, I know a lot of really ultra confident, strong people that are really struggling right now, and it's okay. It's hard. Like, this is hard. And right. So I think it's important that people that are struggling should know that it's not just them. Like, this is everyone. Like, I don't know anyone that isn't at least struggling a little bit now. And yeah, there are resources out there, and they should just know when it's time to reach out, and it's okay. And like, every day that goes by, we're one day closer to the norm coming back, whenever that is.
I did get one last question and then we can wrap it up. What about, so for somebody that hasn't received their stimulus check as of yet? I mean, you hear that so many people have received them. They go and check the status and the status says status not available.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, a lot of people haven't gotten their stimulus checks. If you didn't file your 2018, 2019 returns where you were due a refund by direct deposit, you probably didn't get your stimulus check now. And the IRS website probably still isn't working to the point where you can put in your direct deposit information. What I would say is that, one, I would make sure that, it's hopefully going to be sent to the right address. If you just moved in the last 2 months, just make sure that mail forwarding was set up. But otherwise, keep trying that IRS website every day to see if you can enter your direct deposit information secure. Because as soon as finally they fix it and you can do that, you're going to get your payment a lot quicker. Otherwise, if you don't enter it, you're going to eventually, hopefully, get a check to your regular address. But I really can't say when it's going to come.
Yeah, I think last I heard about half the checks have gone out. So there's a lot of people still waiting. It's going to take them months to get all the stimulus money paid out. So unfortunately, right now, you just got to be patient. I know I have clients calling me saying, can't you just use some kind of back channel and call up the IRS and ask them for me? I'm like, I don't think anyone is, I don't think the IRS is taking any phone calls right now. So just have to be patient.
Yeah, no, I've got a ton of questions like that. Yeah, there is no back channel. There's no secret telephone number. You sort of have to sit tight, try that website every day to enter your direct deposit information. And otherwise, hopefully the check shows up one day.
One more. I love it.
You could do this all night.
I know, right? The comment is, I filed an application under the PPP because my income was down. I am an independent contractor, but it looks like my income is now coming back up. What if it turns out that my income was not hurt when the money becomes available?
That's a really good question. Yeah, I mean, you have to be able to certify that you were hurt by COVID. I do have clients that applied in anticipation of they thought they would be hurt, but they didn't really know, and they weren't able to really estimate how much they would be hurt. So, one is, you still have if you are really worried and you can't certify that you're going to be hurt by COVID, you can return the money or just not sign the note whenever you get it from the bank, wherever you applied. So your options are, you don't need to sign the note. You could return the money. There's a date it's around May 8th, I think, where you could still return the money without any penalty. But otherwise, if you were hurt, then, you sort of have it, and it sort of is what it is. And if you, use it for what it's supposed to be used for, it should be, forgiven. If you don't feel comfortable with that, then it's a, very low interest loan that you pay back over, 2 years. But yeah, if you're just uncomfortable about it, you're not sure, or you think you might make more money, actually, I do have clients that are actually doing better now, and wanted to apply for the PPP. And I said, well, if you can't certify that you were hurt, they're going to go, they very well could go after you, and it could be a year from now. It could be 18 months from now. So beware, before you do that.
Mm-hmm. And that's it. I don't have any more questions.
Great.
All right. Well, thanks, thank you to JFCS for having me. Thank you to Deborah and Laura. Laura, great answers to everything. I agree with 100% of everything you said, and it's great that JFCS has you as a resource.
Yeah, thanks, Jake. This was a really wonderful discussion. I think we got a lot of good information out there to everyone. So thanks, everyone, for listening.
Thank you both for your help and participation in this most important conversation. We're very grateful that you both were here.
Thanks.
You're welcome.